Hey everyone, welcome back to Bible Verse Breakdown. I'm your friend Ewaenruwa Nomaren, and in this video we are going to be looking at what Jesus Christ said in Matthew chapter 6 verses 5 and 6, which reads, "And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." Now, what's important about this verse is not the statement itself. Like, it's not okay, Christ said we should go into our rooms to pray, so let me go into my closet and start. No. What's important is, why did Jesus Christ say that? And what does that really mean? So the underlying principle that made Christ make that statement is, there are two things we can serve. We can rather serve God or serve man. The hypocrites that Jesus Christ was referring to in verse 5 was the Pharisees, because if you look at their spiritual work, you can see that it was designed to be all about men. Everything they did relating to God was about what people could see. For example, what they wore, how they carried themselves, cultures and traditions and so on. As Jesus Christ said in Matthew chapter 23 verses 25 and 26, they decorated the cup and the platter so that on the outside it looks fantastic, but it was superficial, because on the inside there was extortion and excess and hypocrisy and all kinds of evils going on. Dead men's bones. And the reason why they created it like that was because that's the kind of thing that brings praise. When you invest on the inside, that's for God. Men don't see that, but when you invest on the outside, on what you wear, on how you speak and all that, that's what people see. So people will call you holy based on that. The Pharisees, they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God, according to John chapter 12, verses 42 and 43. So they invested in that, in justifying themselves before men, as Christ described it in Luke chapter 16, verse 15. But there's a way we serve God, which is completely different from the way we serve men. When we want to please God rather than men, we'll come and see that our relationship with God is not public, as Christ was describing. It's kind of secret. It's not that people won't know we serve God, but it's not about what other people think and what other people are saying and doing and generally thinking about us. No, it's about, is God Almighty pleased with our works? That is what matters to us. And His endorsement of our work is what matters to us, not whether men think we are righteous before God. That when we truly want to please God and God only, what men think is not really going to mean anything. And let me give you some examples. If you look at the story of Job, you'll be able to see that Job was not interested in whether his friends thought he was righteous. His friends were trying to convince him that it's only wicked people that are humiliated the way you've been humiliated, where all your family and your riches and everything goes, so forget about being righteous. But Job knew he was righteous, and he told them blanketly and bluntly that he would maintain his integrity before God, according to Job chapter 27, verses 2 to 6. And he said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." In Job chapter 13, verse 15. And if we read Job chapter 32, verse 1, we can see that they stopped talking to him about those matters eventually, because they saw that they couldn't convince Job out of it. Job believed he was righteous. So these three men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. And what we should understand is that this was secret. That is, even his friends didn't understand the relationship Job had with God, because Job was not interested in it being so public. But if you look at the way God rewarded Job in Job chapter 42, verses 12 to 17, you can see that it was public. He became rich and very wealthy, and everybody got to enjoy from that. People began to come in droves to congratulate him and say that, yes, God Almighty has blessed you. But the relationship that brought all of those rewards was not public. It was secret. That was kind of what Christ was pointing to. If you also look at the relationship that the apostles had with God, it was the same thing. They were not interested in whether the magistrates or the Pharisees or the Sadducees were approving of what they were doing. They said we ought to obey God rather than men, according to Acts chapter 5, verses 29 and 30. And they said something similar in Acts chapter 4, verses 19 and 20. You can see that they were only interested in serving the unseen. And that's very important. Jesus Christ said in John chapter 4, verse 24, that if we want to serve God, who is a spirit, we have to worship him in spirit and in truth. When we only invest on the earthly things that men only care about, then we're going to get lots of praises from men, but God Almighty, he's not going to approve of us. Rather, we should seek the kind of endorsements that God gave to Job in Job chapter 1 verse 8 and chapter 2 verse 3. Hast thou seen my servant Job? There is none like him. We should be interested in that kind of praise, which is not God Almighty telling us physically, but his rewards and generally the fact that we're doing what's right. We have to be satisfied with that praise, not with whether men think we're righteous or not. Like, that's not really supposed to be very important. And you can see that the apostles fulfilled that. And Paul, he said in Galatians chapter 1 verse 10 that he didn't seek to please men. He said, "For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, then should I not be the servant of Christ." There's a very big difference between serving God and serving men. And as Christians, we should choose serving God, because if we get the praise of men, but God Almighty doesn't endorse our work, then we don't really gain anything at the end. It's just hypocritical praise, and that's where it ends. But by the time God Almighty praises us, spiritually speaking, then that's actually where the true reward is. To conclude, the writer of the Hebrew account stated in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 6 that if we want to be able to please God, we have to have that kind of faith, so that we'll be more interested in pleasing the unseen, the spirits, God Almighty, than the seen, that is, people, men, and so on. He stated, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." And that is where I'm going to stop on breaking down what Jesus Christ said in Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 and 6, which once again reads, "And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." So, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when we come back with another Bible verse breakdown video. Have a great day, and God bless you.